Hi, first grade. There's quite a few materials that you're going to need for art today. First, you need your white piece of construction paper that was hopefully mailed to you. You're going to need a piece of scratch paper. It could look like this, or it could be the back of another piece of paper that you have. You're going to need a pencil, a black marker, and you're going to pick one of these things. You're going to either use markers, you're either going to use crayons, or you're going to use watercolors. If you pick watercolors, you'll also need a cup of water. So, here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to put all of these things off to the side, and we're going to paint flowers like Pablo Picasso. So, the reason that you have your scratch paper, you'll also need scissors. So, the reason that you have scratch paper is to trace your hand. This hand is so that you're holding your flowers. It's easier to do it on scratch paper than it is to do it on your real picture. So I'm tracing my hand. And I'm going to have it run off the page. Alright. And then you're going to cut it out. I want you to watch me do all of the steps before you start. Okay, I have my hand all cut out, and I'm going to put my thumb of the hand facing up. Kind of like I'm giving a thumbs up. Just like that. It's okay if the paper runs off of your paper. You're just using this to trace. So once I have my hand where I like it, I think I'm going to put it down a little bit because I want to leave room for my flowers. So, I have my hand where I like it, and I'm going to use my pencil to trace it. So I'm just going to trace around my hand in pencil first. Okay. Now, after I've finished tracing around my hand, I can take the scratch paper away. And you can see, if you look closely, you can see that it's not perfect. I have a couple lines going here. It looks kind of bumpy around my fingers. So I'm going to take my black marker, and I'm going to outline the hand as neat as I can. So I'm going to go slow and make it look nice and smooth. Okay, now that I've traced my hand, I can still see some of those pencil marks. So I'm going to, you can use either a big eraser or just your pencil and go through and erase all the pencil marks that you can still see. Alright, once you're done with your hand, you're ready to start the flowers. So, like I said, you're either going to use crayons or markers or watercolors. I'm going to show you how to do all three, but you're just going to pick one of those. So the first I'm going to show you how to make your flower using a marker. Remember, artwork looks best when you use odd numbers. So you're going to paint or color an odd number of flowers in your hand. I'm going to do 3 flowers. So to do it in marker, to draw a flower in marker, you're first going to draw your stem. It's going to look like you're holding your stem. So maybe your flower's kind of bent over like mine is. And then you're going to be holding, the end of it is going to be coming out of your hand. Like that. Okay, so now that I have my stem, I'm going to pick a new color for the middle of my flower. Now, when you are, if you notice in Pablo Picasso's sketch of his flowers, his petals are not touching the stem. So this is the inside of my flower. I'm going to give it some space so that I can draw my petals between the stem and the inside. And nothing is going to be touching. I'm going to leave some space so that my petal is going to look like that. And I'm just going to go around painting or coloring in my petals. I can rotate my paper as I color the petals. Maybe that'll be easier for you. Maybe you want to add big flowers with a big middle and bigger petals. Maybe you want to add small flowers. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. And once I'm happy with my flower, I can move on to the next one. If I would do this again, I would probably make my flowers a little bit bigger. I would probably make this flower a little bit bigger. So that is how you do it with markers. Now I'm going to show you how to do it with crayons. So to do crayons, it's pretty much the same thing as a marker. I'm going to start with, oh, that's not the crayon I wanted. I'm going to start with a green stem. Maybe this one is a little bit shorter than my last stem. And then I'm going to pick out the color that I want for the middle of my flower. And what color I want my petals to be. So I'm going to have a blue middle. I'm making sure to leave plenty of space for a petal. And then I'm going to go around and add my petals. Do you notice how none of my petals are touching? That's just like how Picasso made his. Alright, and the last one we're going to do is with watercolor. So I'm going to put my crayons away and get out my watercolors. So I have my cup of water, and I have my watercolors. And the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I get my brush nice and wet. And I'm going to use a green stem. And I'm going to do the same thing using nice small strokes with my brush, or thin strokes with my brush. This time I have to kind of go between my fingers, as it looks like I'm holding it in my hand. Like that. So once I'm happy with the way that it looks, I'm going to wash my brush out and pick a new color. I want my inside of the flower to be, let's go with red. So I'm going to paint a circle and get a new color. I'm going to use orange. So same thing, I'm just going to paint one stroke for my petals. It's okay if it goes off the page. If you get watercolor on your table though, make sure that you are being a good citizen or responsible to get it cleaned up. You're going to learn what a citizen means in social studies next week. Okay, and once you're happy with the way that it looks, then you are all finished. Now I know Mother's Day is coming up, so you can make this for your mother and maybe give that to her as a gift. If you want to make it as a gift, you could write a message at the top, and you could, if you use markers for your flowers, you could use marker for your message. If you use crayons for your flowers, you could use crayon to write your message. Or watercolor might be kind of tricky, but you can always try it. There are no mistakes when it comes to making art. So maybe I'm going to say, I love you, Mom. Now I will warn you that if you use watercolors, I would let it dry before you write your message. Let your flowers dry, because I just put my hand in the flower and it was wet. I didn't want it to smear. So, that is your Pablo Picasso sketching. Have fun drawing your flowers inside of your hand. The last thing I want to remind you is make sure that you clean up everything after yourself. I know that we had a lot of materials today, and with Mother's Day being on Sunday, you could even hide your artwork and give it to your mom on Sunday. If I were to do this project again, I would probably add 2 more flowers. I would have 5 flowers in my hand instead of only 3. So I can't wait to see the artwork that you created.